What you're looking at here is a pin that is used to fasten the bottom plate of a wall to a concrete foundation. However, this is an older pin. This home, I believe, was built before the 1960s, so somewhere between 1955 and 1960. And this was what they actually used to keep the walls from moving at the bottom. Now, there is one thing I'd like to point out about these heavy duty boogers is that they will actually split the wood. And you can see here that this one has split. And if you looked at the other one, it was actually split too, or split also, I should say. And here you got a nice crack going down here. And this isn't uncommon, even with pins that they use today to fasten the framing plates to the concrete foundation. So prepare yourself. If you have a dry board and you shoot it with one of these pins, then there's a good chance it could split. And there is also one more thing I'd like to point out. Look at the hammer marks here. Somebody beat this pin down. Looked like they really hammered, missed a couple of times. So I don't know if these were actually pins that were driven in by a hammer or with some type of a power tool. If anyone has a heads up and knows about this, obviously I was not working back then let us know. Here's the pin. Obviously I couldn't get it out. I tried to get the pin. A lot of times you can just pop the wall out, especially the pins they use nowadays. You just pop them out with you can hit it with a hammer a couple of times and pop them out. Well, these babies don't work that way. They are extremely difficult to remove, and more times than often you're going to end up taking the board and splitting it or cutting it in half to get it out and then breaking the pin off afterwards. Here's an example of what I'm talking about. Here's the pin. It's already broken. I had to hit it a couple of times with a hammer to get it to break, and you hope that it breaks at the bottom. I've had these pins actually break about 1/4 of an inch or 3/8 of an inch from the above the concrete foundation, and if that's the case, you got to somehow cut them off. And some of these older pins, I don't know what kind of metal they're made out of, but they are heavy duty boogers, and they are difficult to break as it is, let alone cut with a sawzall blade. So if you have a pin that doesn't make it out on an older home, then it wouldn't be a bad idea to grab a grinder instead of a sawzall to cut that out. And there are times too where I've actually driven them in with a hammer, just drive them in a little further or flatten them out. So anyway, just wanted to provide you guys with a little insight on what these older pins, just how strong they actually are. And like I said, it is surprising at how much holding power these pins actually had. So again, I'm kind of surprised every time I run into these older homes that have these anchoring devices installed in them. You think you're just going to pop the bottom plate up. Well, you might need to think again when you run across one of these boogers.